You just sat down, and it is already there. The pull, the quiet voice that says this is not quite right sitting here when there are things that could be done. You have not been sitting for 60 seconds. The guilt did not even wait for you to get comfortable. This is not burnout. This is not being bad at relaxing. You are not struggling to find time to rest. You have the time. You are sitting in it. The problem is the moment you stop, something arrives. A low hum, a pull, a feeling that doing nothing is somehow wrong. This is rest guilt, and it has a mechanism. Once you see it, why the couch never feels restful will make complete sense. You might recognize this in more places than just right now. You go on holiday, flights booked, out of office on, somewhere you chose because you needed it. And for the first 2 days, you cannot fully arrive. There is a background noise that followed you there. You're on a beach. Your brain is running the same system it runs on a Tuesday. You finish everything on your list, every single item. And within 10 minutes, you have written a new one because the empty list felt worse than the list being full. The empty list does not feel like completion. It feels like exposure. You sit down to watch a film you've been meaning to watch for months. 20 minutes in, you're also folding laundry because stillness without a side task felt like not doing enough with the time. And Sunday. You probably know Sunday well. It should feel like rest. Instead, it feels like a countdown, a quiet audit of everything undone. Sunday is supposed to be the exhale. It mostly feels like the opening act of Monday. There's a reason this keeps happening, and it's not that you are addicted to productivity. The reason goes further back than that. Your brain made an equation somewhere along the way. Stillness equals inactivity. Inactivity equals unproductive. Unproductive equals unworthy. Unworthy generates guilt. Guilt generates the urge to move. Moving interrupts the rest, and the rest never actually happens. Rest arrives, and the brain does not read it as recovery. It reads it as a problem, because rest looks like inactivity, and inactivity feels dangerous. Not physically, something quieter. Dangerous to your value. Dangerous to the version of yourself that justifies taking up space. So the guilt arrives. Every time. Not because something is wrong with you, because the brain is protecting something it learned mattered a long time ago. And here's where it gets interesting. When the guilt arrives, the natural response is to do something. Earn the rest retroactively. Make the quiet productive. And doing something works. The guilt quietens. The discomfort resolves. So the brain learned guilt leads to action, leads to relief. It keeps using guilt, not to punish you, to help you. The thing you are doing to feel better is the thing that makes the guilt stronger. Every time you respond to rest with doing, you confirm to the brain that guilt is a correct response to stillness. The loop tightens. The conditions for deserving quiet get more specific. You lie down genuinely intending to rest. Within 90 seconds, you're mentally redecorating the room. That is not distraction. That is the guilt looking for a task to justify the horizontal position. This loop did not start with you. It started with something you were shown, very early, about what you were worth when you were still. This probably started somewhere that treated stillness as a problem. Maybe it was just a home where everyone was always doing something, where busy was the default, and sitting still felt faintly wrong, not because anyone said so, but because the message was in the atmosphere. Activity meant contributing. Stillness meant you were not. Somewhere along the way, you became very good at looking busy, even when you were not, especially when you were not. Maybe productivity was how love was shown. People express care through doing, fixing, organizing, providing. And over time, doing became how you showed you were okay. Stopping felt like withdrawing the justification for being there. Maybe someone told you directly that rest was a reward, that you had to earn the quiet, that good people worked hard. At that point, the guilt made complete sense. It wasn't a flaw. It was adaptive. It kept you safe. It kept you on the right side of a threshold that genuinely mattered then. It worked. And because it worked, your brain made it automatic. You didn't choose to carry it forward. The brain held onto it the way it holds on to anything that kept you safe. Quietly, completely, without asking permission to stay. And now it runs in places that have nothing to do with where it came from. You're on holiday with people who genuinely want you there. The system still runs. You're at dinner with friends who are not measuring anything. It still scans. Saturday morning, nowhere to be, nothing due. It still generates the list. The conditions that needed this response have mostly changed. The response never got the update. You are still paying a tax on stillness that was set in a world that no longer exists, and that has a cost worth naming. Rest never actually lands. The body stops, but the mind does not. Recovery never arrives. You are always running on less than full, and you have been long enough that you have forgotten what full feels like. The holiday does not restore you. You come back and say, yes, it was good, because you did it correctly. You went, you saw things, but the kind of restored where you come back genuinely different, that did not happen, because the system ran the whole time. The weekend is not a break. It is the week with different tasks, the laundry instead of the emails, different content, same operating mode. And then there is this, the one hardest to name. You watch the film, but you are not all the way in it. Part of you is watching yourself watch it, calculating whether this is a good use of time. The film is happening, you are managing your relationship to the film. That is not rest. That is monitoring in a horizontal position. The longer this runs, the more the window shrinks. First the weekends, then weekends only after everything was done, then only on holiday, then only the first 2 days of the holiday. Watch the window. Tired becomes your baseline, not the tired sleep fixes, the other kind, from never fully recovering, from always being a little bit on. You are not bad at resting. You are exhausted from the effort of trying to rest inside a system that will not let you. And that system never accounted for something important. The part of you that knows how to rest is still there. You were born knowing how to rest. Nobody taught you. What you learned was the guilt. The rest came first. It is still there, underneath the list, the hum, the years of negotiating with stillness, waiting quietly for the system to get a little quieter. You have not lost the ability to stop. The permission just stopped feeling available. You do not need to earn this. You do not need to finish the list first or have a hard enough week to qualify. The rest does not require a reason. You are allowed to stop without building a case for stopping. That is not laziness. That is what rest actually is. The absence of the need to justify the stillness. Notice when the guilt arrives, not to fight it, just to see it. The guilt is running again. There it is, arriving the way it always does, certain it is telling you something true. It is not telling you something true. It is telling you something old. You do not have to arrive at rest correctly. You just have to arrive. This pattern made sense when it started. It was built in a place that needed you to keep moving. It still runs because it worked, because you worked, because that is what you learned to do, and part of you is still proud of that, even as another part of you is exhausted by it. Both of those things are true, and you do not have to choose between them. The part of you that can just stop, without the list, without earning it first, was never gone. It just got quiet while the other thing got loud. You are allowed to rest. Not when you have finished, not after one more thing, now, as you are. With the list still on the counter and the world still making its demands. The quiet was always yours. You just forgot it didn't have to be earned. And whenever you are ready to keep seeing yourself clearly, you know where to find this space.